Can we speak about mimesis? How would it be?
Mimesis.
Mimesis. Okay, so you write in the book, initially, the primary function of fine art was to imitate nature as well as possible. And the romantic aesthetic turned the table around, and the notion of a human spirit was incorporated into a grand concept of nature, and the arts, with their special powers of abstraction, could reveal the essence and generality of nature. And so there's a clear break, and I see someone like Hegel would say something like, no natural being is able, as art is, to express the divine ideal. And so that is a
Right.
break, right? Is that not what people used to think before this the Romantic age?
Well, the way the grand romantic narrative or idealist narrative works is the idea that in prior to 1800, these are all just placeholders. It
Yeah.
doesn't actually happen on December 1st, 1800.
January 1st.
Right, yeah, January 1st. Oh, wow, the world changed.
Exactly.
But it feels like it sometimes.
Yeah.
But we say that 2001, the world changed as if it
Yeah.
had no prior history or post history. I think what happens is that the idea of enlightenment is the increasing rise of humanity over nature, and with the rise of the humanity coming over nature, what is produced by humanity takes over from what is given as divine in nature. And so where nature gave the rule to art in Kant's terms, in the Critique of Judgment, it turns around. Art suddenly is giving the rule to nature. Humanity is giving the rule to nature. And so there's a shift. And it's not that humanity doesn't have its own nature, but it's the sort of embodiment of the divine figure. And you can see this is a very Christian notion of nature. It's when divine nature is represented in the embodiment of a person, and that's the figure of Jesus Christ. So it's not about nature in terms of natural rules, natural norms for how people are in the world. It's the rise of an embodied figure. So in the 18th century, you're seeing a lot of new philosophies of art that are putting the sculpture, the Greek sculpture, the body of Apollo or King David as godlike into the center of the Museum of Art. And so landscape becomes secondary to that. I mean, there's enormous landscape painting in the 19th century, extraordinary landscape,
Could you
and
could you elaborate?
history painting. But there's a kind of centrality given to the figure of a person, and that corresponds to the figure of the artist.
Could you explain a little bit
Mm.
more about that traditional view? So, I mean, even the Renaissance had produced a lot of, I guess you could say, humanistic art, where uh, the statue of David, and there's a lot
Mm.
of naturalism portrayed there. I think if you go a little bit earlier to perhaps Fra Angelico, where
Mm.
the paintings are not almost otherworldly in a transcendental way, but then you have the
Yeah, but that's the
Renaissance,
thing. Yeah,
and the Renaissance,
but yeah,
you have more human-looking people and very
that's
perfectly proportioned.
yeah, but you're still seeing a kind of divination of the nature in the human nature in the paintings, with Apollo, or with King David, or statue of David, or you're seeing figures that are set into contexts that carry religious iconography, notions of pointing. People pointing to the heavens when they're playing musical instruments. So you've still got a very theological, divine nature operating within these paintings in so many ways. And that, of course, is a mixture of antiquity plus biblical theology mixing in the Renaissance. But as you go up in the centuries, people say that it becomes more and more secular, so that Romanticism is then the moment where the divination is so very much embodied in a secular world. And some people say that's the end of the divine because it's become secularized. Some people say it's the perfect accord of the secular and sacred. But people see a break in that moment with the domination of a secular modernity. This is a narrative. I'm telling you how the story's told. It is way more complicated and I'm capturing it, but just to give you the outline. And you see this, and so you get in Hegel, in Kant, in Marx, and in Nietzsche, a looking back to an antique world that is being reborn with a new spirit in the 19th century. But the new spirit is under the condition of a new secular culture, secular modernity. So there's this big question, will that secular world carry the spirit of the sacred, or will we end up in world wars and everything go to hell, so to speak?